Okay, so get ready because today we are uh, going deep on Bird
Oh,
Box.
yeah.
Not just like the whole scary monsters and blindfolds thing, but like
Yeah.
what the movie says about women in these like end of the world stories.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you send over this really interesting paper
hmm
that looks at the film like through a feminist lens.
Okay.
So let's break that down.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, at first glance, Bird Box just seems like a typical thriller,
Yeah.
edge of your seat kind of movie.
Right.
But if you dig a little deeper, the movie actually like flips the script on those gender roles
Yeah.
we see in most apocalyptic movies.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
it made me think about all those other movies where it's just like,
Yeah.
the tough guy who saves the day,
Oh, totally.
Will Smith in I Am Legend, or Bruce
Oh.
Willis in Armageddon,
Hmm.
like Brad Pitt fighting zombies in World War Z.
Right.
It's almost always a man who's the hero.
And women are often positioned as needing protection or
Right.
rescue. But Bird Box takes a completely different approach.
Yeah.
It almost seems to suggest that men in their traditional roles are actually part of the problem.
Wow. Yeah. When you put it that way, it makes you see the movie in a totally different light.
Right.
The way the men in the film are like constantly trying to assert control
Yeah.
and dominance, ultimately leading to their own downfall.
Right.
It's like a commentary on toxic masculinity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This paper even uses the term patriarchal self-destruction
Oh,
to describe how the men's actions bring about their own demise.
wow.
There's that gripping scene where Gary, driven by paranoia and a need for control,
Hmm.
causes absolute chaos during the births of Olympia and Mallory's babies.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that scene was so intense.
I know, right?
The way Gary like bursts in, demanding to see the creatures,
Yeah,
completely disregarding the women's vulnerability
it's chilling.
and the sanctity of that moment.
It's
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And his actions directly lead to the deaths of Olympia and Cheryl, the other pregnant woman.
Right.
It's a stark contrast to Mallory, who,
Yeah.
despite being in labor, steps up to protect herself and the other women.
Totally.
She's not waiting to be rescued.
That's so true. Instead of being the damsel in distress, she's like this fierce protector.
Yes.
The paper describes her as a warrior mom,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was such a powerful way to capture her strength.
I think that description is spot on.
Yeah.
The movie challenges that traditional image of the gentle, nurturing mother
Right.
and presents us with Mallory, who is resourceful,
Hmm.
determined, and willing to do whatever it takes to keep her children safe.
Yeah.
It's a far cry from the passive female characters we often see in these types of films.
And it's not just her actions, but also her choices. Like refusing to name her children.
Right.
Just calling them boy and girl.
Yeah.
What do you think the film is trying to say with that?
That's a really interesting point, I think, by not giving them traditional names.
Yeah.
Mallory seems to be rejecting societal expectations and gender norms.
Hmm.
It's as if she's saying, in this new world, we're starting fresh,
Right.
free from the constraints of the past.
It's almost like she's creating a space where those traditional gender roles no longer apply.
Yeah.
And speaking of breaking free from the past, I want to get into how Bird Box redefines strength in this new world.
Yeah.
It's not about physical power, but something much deeper.
Right.
So like the whole idea of sight,
Mhm.
which we usually think of as like knowledge
Yeah.
and power,
Uh-huh.
it becomes weakness in this film.
Totally.
You have to be blind to survive.
Yeah.
It's like, how does Bird Box make us rethink those ideas of like strength and vulnerability?
It definitely like flips everything we think we know,
Yeah.
Strength isn't about being physically dominant or aggressive.
Right.
It's about adapting to this world without sight,
Yeah.
relying on your other senses and being like super aware of everything around you,
Right.
making careful decisions.
And that the sanctuary, the only safe place in the movie, is a school for the blind.
Right.
It's like the film is saying that the people who were once seen as vulnerable
Yeah.
because they were blind
Yeah.
are now the ones who are best equipped to survive
Totally.
in this new world.
It's like survival of the fittest, but like
Right.
a whole new meaning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes you think about what real strength actually is.
Uh-huh.
And this paper argues that Bird Box isn't just about like physical strength,
Yeah.
but also like mental and emotional resilience.
Oh, totally.
Think about everything Mallory goes through.
Yeah.
Lost trauma,
Mm.
constant fear,
Right.
the huge responsibility of protecting these kids.
Yeah.
She's not some like emotionless hero.
Right.
She breaks down.
She doubts herself,
Yeah.
shows her vulnerability.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes her so
Yeah.
compelling as a character.
The film doesn't shy away from showing how much all this affects her emotionally.
Yeah.
She's not this like superhuman figure who's immune to fear or pain. She's a real person struggling to survive this impossible situation.
And even with all of that, she never gives up.
Right.
She keeps fighting and keeps going, even when it feels like there's no hope left. The paper even talks about how, like, Mallory's strength is in how she refuses to be this, like, ideal version of a mother.
Okay.
She's not afraid to be angry or frustrated.
Right.
Or even a little selfish when she's trying to protect herself and her kids.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
The movie challenges this often, like, romanticized and sanitized view of motherhood.
Yeah.
Mallory is complex and flawed.
Yeah.
She makes mistakes and she struggles. But ultimately, she always puts her children's survival first.
It's like she's showing us a new way to think about what it means to be a mother.
Totally.
In this crazy world.
And that connects to this bigger idea in the film of, like, subverting expectations and challenging traditional norms.
So we've talked about how the film, like, turns gender roles upside down and shows us a new way to think about strength.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
What kind of impact did Bird Box have on pop culture?
Right.
Because this movie really connected with people.
It definitely did.
Yeah.
It felt like it really captured what a lot of people were feeling.
Yeah.
It started so many conversations about motherhood and survival and what it means to be strong in a world that feels increasingly uncertain.
And there were all those memes.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone trying to figure out, like, what those creatures mean. And then there was that Bird Box challenge.
Oh, yeah.
Which, let's be real.
Maybe not the best idea.
Probably not a good idea.
But I think you're right. The fact that it sparked those kinds of reactions, both good and bad, shows how much it resonated with audiences.
This paper even mentions how Bird Box makes viewers, like, confront this often uncomfortable experience of blindness. It makes us question our own assumptions about, like, ability and disability.
Yeah.
I remember feeling so disoriented watching Mallory, like, move through the world without being able to see.
It's a powerful technique that
that
puts you right in Mallory's shoes and forces you to experience that vulnerability and confusion firsthand.
And by doing that, the film challenges us to rethink our own ideas about strength and weakness.
Exactly.
It's like Bird Box is saying, hey, maybe the things we overlook or don't value as much are actually our biggest strengths.
Totally.
And I think that's something that a lot of people connect with.
Yeah, it really does make you think, like, if we were faced with some kind of crisis, would our values and priorities change? Would we still measure success the same way? Would our ideas about, like, power and leadership be different?
Those are really great questions.
Yeah.
And Bird Box really explores those themes.
Okay.
Like, if we had to face a threat like that, what would be most important for survival?
Right.
Maybe physical strength wouldn't be as important as, like, adaptability.
Empathy.
Yeah.
The ability to build trust and community.
Right.
Those things could really mean the difference between life or death.
It's interesting to think about how those qualities that we usually associate with women, like nurturing and compassion, intuition, could become, like, essential in a world like that.
Totally. The film challenges us to rethink those traditional gender roles and recognize the strength and resilience that often gets overlooked.
The Bird Box is saying, hey, maybe we need to change our whole definition of what it means to be strong.
Exactly. And it does it in a way that's both entertaining and thought-provoking. You're on the edge of your seat trying to figure out what's going to happen.
Right.
But you're also thinking about these deeper questions.
Yeah.
About humanity and society and what it means to survive.
It's a testament to the filmmakers that they can combine those things into such a compelling story.
And it's why it has resonated so strongly with audiences. It's not just some empty thriller.
Right.
It's a movie that sticks with you and makes you think about your own beliefs.
So to bring it all back to you, dear listener, think about the qualities you admire in others. And the things you value in yourself.
Right.
How might those strengths come out in a world that demands resilience and adaptability? And a whole new way of seeing things.
That's something to think about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And if Bird Box has you curious about these themes, I definitely recommend checking out this academic paper we've been talking about.
Yeah.
It really dives deep into the feminist ideas in the film.
It does.
And brings up some really interesting points about gender and representation and the power of stories.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe this deep dive will inspire you to see the world differently.
Yeah.
Question your own assumptions.
Right.
And recognize strength in unexpected places.
Because sometimes the best journeys are the ones that make us question our own views.
Right.
And see the world in a new way.